We go from the college ranks to the pro ranks to take a look at what our rookie Arizona State Sun Devils are doing at the NFL level on this edition of the Locked On Sun Devils podcast.
Are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And welcome back to this edition of the Locked On Sun Devils podcast. My name is Richie Bradshaw, and I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. As always, thank you guys so much for making us your first listen of the day. Remember, we're free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, if you would like to check us out on a visual platform. But wherever you do get those podcasts, make sure that you turn on notifications by liking and subscribing to wherever you are listening and or watching. If you're on Twitter, go ahead and follow me at RichieBrads36 for all the content I'm pumping out, which includes the podcast, which you can find at LO_Sun Devils. It also includes my work over with Sports Illustrated at All Sun Devils. Follow all three of them, and you'll be in the loop for everything Arizona State Sun Devils all the time. Before we get started, I would like to thank LinkedIn Jobs for being the official college football recruiting sponsor across the Locked On College Network. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions will apply. Hopping into today's conversation, we've been doing a lot of focusing on what's going on with the program right now, to the point where we almost need to look a little outside because it feels a lot more doom and gloom than it feels optimism in Tempe. It feels like we're constantly worried about this team. It feels like there's just more negativity surrounding the 2022 Arizona State Sun Devils football team than I would personally like. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I'm definitely not the most optimistic guy in the world, but I'm certainly not pessimistic about the season either. But I think something that we can all agree on is that we want to see our guys succeed in the NFL. And we have 8 players from this 2022 squad, or 2021 squad, excuse me, who are currently in the NFL. 4 of them were drafted, those being in no order: Rachaad White, DJ Davidson, Jack Jones, and Chase Lucas. And then 4 more were undrafted free agents in the forms of Kellen Diesch, Dohnovan West, Curtis Hodges, and Darien Butler. Goodness gracious, I had to look at my notes. I was like, how do I forget Darien Butler, the mascot of Locked On Sun Devils? Shame on me. I want to go through them real quick. Just give you guys an update in case you're away from your screens for some reason on what's going on, because it's also really hard to keep up with everything preseason. So I've done the work for you. Now, taking a look at the guys that I couldn't find anything on. DJ Davidson has not been particularly dominant. I found a few reps where he just got pancaked right into the dirt, just not demonstrating the leverage concepts that he showed while he was at Arizona State. It's a rookie learning curve. Don't worry about it. It's too soon to tell. He was a 4th-round pick for a reason. The New York Giants definitely have a lot of faith in him to move forward instead of backwards. To my knowledge, he didn't do much in the preseason game that they had against the New England Patriots. You have Kellen Diesch for the Miami Dolphins and Dohnovan West for the San Francisco 49ers. Neither of them were overly impactful as well during this preseason. In fact, I believe I saw that Diesch only had 3 snaps for Miami. Dohnovan West is definitely in a bit of a heated battle for the center position. Of the undrafted rookies, it feels like West definitely has the best opportunity to end up making his team. But looking at the other undrafted guys, Curtis Hodges has been a pretty nice standout for the Washington Commanders. Darien Butler has been massive. We'll get to him a little bit later. But I want to get to Hodges for a moment. Curtis Hodges is also in a very unique situation where there's injuries in Washington that are going to present a lot of opportunity for younger guys and undrafted free agents to push for a roster spot and potentially maybe even make an impact as a rookie or just in 2022 in general. Curtis Hodges is generating some hype. If you go on Twitter, you can find people in the Washington Commanders media that are very excited about Hodges. Hodges is definitely that freaky athlete, right? We've always had a feeling, or not a feeling, we've always known that Curtis Hodges is that kind of athlete who can change the way that a game is going. You know, he's big, he's long, he's fast. When he's catching the football, it feels like he can break it open at any given time. He feels like a very big difference maker, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. It it's something that, again, like, people in the Washington media will go and say that they're intrigued by him. They think that with Logan Thomas recovering from an ACL injury, that Hodges may have himself a spot on the roster if he continues to prove himself and emerge. He didn't record any statistics in the preseason game that I could find, although I could be incorrect about that if I just didn't read the box score right. I know that he is anything but an easy player to tackle. I saw some highlight where a linebacker was embracing the dirt because of Curtis Hodges. It might have been a preseason game. I'm not sure if it was that or if it was training camp, but Hodges is all the talent, right? We've known this. He's all the talent in the world. He's this big ball of clay that you're hoping you can form into something outstanding. So far, that's pretty much what people are seeing from the Washington camp is exactly that guy. So from here, we're hoping that Hodges is able to take that next step and that Hodges can go from roster bubble guy to like highly competitive for a 53-man roster spot. He's got 2 more games to just outshine everybody else on the roster. I don't know names off the top of my head. I just know that the starting guy, Logan Thomas, is recovering from an ACL injury, which is going to give a lot of guys a lot of opportunity during this preseason. You're hoping that Hodges can be one of those guys who stands out for you. Let's go ahead and hop into our first break. When we return, we're going to hop into some of the guys who have been really, really big standouts so far through preseason and training camp. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast. As you gear up for fall, you need the right people on your team to help make your small business fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you want to talk to faster and for free. Create a free job post on LinkedIn in minutes to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know that every week, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. As always, thank you guys so much for making the Locked On Sun Devils your first listen of the day. Remember, we are free and available on all platforms. There are 3 guys who are major standouts. And then there's one more guy that we will talk about at the end of the podcast. So 4 guys left. The 3 standouts. The first one I want to talk about, I kind of alluded to him already. He somehow went undrafted. He should not have gone undrafted. The NFL is going to sorely regret that mistake of letting Darien Butler go undrafted. But he goes to Las Vegas to play for the Raiders. through 2 preseason games. He has been their leading tackler in both games. He flies around the field. Again, for Sun Devil fans, this is nothing new. We saw this every single Saturday. The instincts, the speed this guy has. You can't teach either of those. Now, there are absolutely coachable moments. There are times where he's too high on his tackling form, or he's just maybe trying to make the highlight reel like hit instead of doing, the boring form tackle. But then when it feels like you see a bad play, you're going to see 3 great plays from him. He's playing so much better than an undrafted rookie should be playing. And the Raiders defense isn't devoid of good players, but they're absolutely looking for those depth guys that can help push people ahead of them. So, looking at their linebacker core, Darien Butler could make a really nice push here to end up on the Raiders 53-man roster. You've got a few guys who are with the team who are like rock solid. They've got Denzel Perriman, who is coming off a Pro Bowl season, first time in his career. He was mainly just a tackles guy. If you look at him, he didn't necessarily blow the box score away with like any sacks or interceptions or anything. Some of the other guys they have Jayon Brown, Curtis Bolton, Divine Diablo, Luke Masterson, and Kenny Young. Kenny Young being a guy that they brought in during this offseason after he was with the Rams and the Broncos. I believe Jayon Brown is also an offseason ad. He was from the Titans, and he's been banged up. There's a real possibility here, a very, very, very real possibility for Darien Butler to end up making this roster. Because, Perriman is a lock, Kenny Young is a lock, Jayon Brown is a lock. You can probably keep, at least one more, maybe even 2 more. Divine Diablo was a 3rd-round pick a year ago. He's not going anywhere. He's a lock. So from here, it's really going to come down to one more spot. And Curtis Bolton has been bouncing around the league since 2019. He's anything but a lock. I don't know anything about Luke Masterson, honestly. So it really would come down to Butler, Bolton, and Masterson if the Raiders decided to keep 5 linebackers because they run a 4-3 defense. So they have, 4 down linemen. I can't talk. 4 down linemen plus I'm totally spacing. The point is in a 4-3, it's 4 down linemen, 3 linebackers. They keep 5 linebackers. Butler has a shot. Now, for what it's worth, they do have Kyler Fackrell and Micah Kaiser on their injured reserve. But as far as making the 53-man goes, unless they get activated by the start of the season, really good shot for Darien Butler. And he looks outstanding, and you'll love to see it. Another guy who's standing out is Chase Lucas. Lucas, I don't know why he was almost undrafted. I thought he was one of the cleaner Arizona State prospects. Up there with Rachaad White and Kellen Diesch, I felt like Chase Lucas and Jack Jones. I felt like Chase Lucas was one of like the 3 or 4 best prospects the Sun Devils have. Obviously, he was the 4th because he was the 4th and final guy drafted for Arizona State in the past draft. But overall, I feel like he should have been picked higher than where he was. And he's been standing out in Lions camp. Not a surprise. Detroit needs lots of bodies in their secondary. They've got Jeffrey Okudah, who's coming off an ACL tear. They've got a couple bodies at the safety spot. They need good depth to be added. And Chase Lucas can absolutely be that depth. I am completely in the belief that Chase Lucas is a NFL corner. I'm not going to say Pro Bowl. I'm not going to say like 17-game starter, but he belongs in the NFL. So far, he is showing that he belongs. He's far from perfect, obviously, but there's been a lot of really, really good things to see with Chase Lucas. I think he was on the field for like 6 snaps or something like that, but still found a way to make big plays. He's also standing out in practice. So he's doing everything that he needs to do to make this roster. Because even though you're drafted in the 7th round, that still is not a guarantee that you end up making the team when it's all said and done. But he's standing out in a very, very good way. Last guy I want to talk about before we head into our final break is Jack Jones. Everyone knows how much I love Jack Jones. I saw all the funny little comparisons. Someone said he was Marcus Peters, and the Baltimore Ravens fan in me got really excited about that comparison. But he is a New England Patriot, and the Patriots are completely reloading their secondary. They let J.C. Jackson go, who was a what do you call it? Pro Bowler and just an absolute interception machine during his time with New England. They let him go for some reason. Beyond him is a whole lot of unknowns, and there's a very, very good position here for Jack Jones, who was a 4th-round pick, to end up being like a day one starter for the team. They brought back Malcolm Butler, who spent last offseason retired from the Cardinals. They have Miles Bryant is going into his 3rd year with the team. He is actually former Washington Husky a couple of years back. Jonathan Jones is there. He's been there a while. Marcus Jones is there. He's been there a while. Jalen Mills is there. He's been there a while. Sean Wade is not good. Jawan Williams is going to be someone who's going to be competing as well. Jack Jones is a lock. Unless he just does the stupidest thing in the whole world. He is a lock for the roster as a 4th-round pick. But he has a very, very good shot to end up being one of the starting outside corners for the Patriots, which is a really big deal. Considering how big the shoes are that are going to be needed to fill with J.C. Jackson's departure. What's funny is Jack Jones has demonstrated the ability to be a ball hawk in college, and he's doing it in the pros. He gave up 1 catch against the New York Giants. He broke up a pass, but on 3 targets, including this pass breakup, he jumped the route. He knows what he's saying. He knows how to read what the offense is wanting to do, and he dissects it. And any of those 3 plays, if he had been there, a half second or a second early, he might be house sitting those balls. He might be taking them to the end zone, putting 6 on the board. You can't ask for much more out of your corners than that. Jack Jones is giving it to you. If Jack Jones continues to do what he's doing, he could absolutely see major, major playing time in 2022. Could even see starting time, significant starting time, I might add. Jack Jones has been all that and a bag of peanuts, hoping that he can continue to build on what has been a very impressive preseason and training camp for him so far. But there is one more Sun Devil who has stood out so far and above the rest of the class, and we're going to talk about him in just a moment. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast. If you haven't tried Built Bar Puffs yet, you're depriving yourself of one of life's greatest joys. And guess what? There's a new flavor. Are you ready? Here we go. Delicious, indulgent cookie dough. Covered in chocolate. That's right. Built has done it again. Let me introduce you to your new favorite. Cookie dough chunk puffs have a light and chewy texture, real cookie dough chunks. And of course, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. All the joys of eating cookie dough without the hassle of making it. Plus, it's healthy for you. Cookie dough chunk puffs are only 160 calories and have a whopping 15 grams of protein in them. Run to Built.com to snag a box for you and the family. It'll be the perfect treat, or you can find a really good hiding place and just hoard them for yourself. Like all Built bars, the new cookie dough chunk puff is covered in 100% real chocolate. That means they're healthy and tasty. Chocolate covered cookie dough with light, fluffy texture. So good. What's great about Built is that all their bars are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. Eat something that tastes good and is good for you. You're going to love the new cookie dough chunk puff. Whether you need a snack for your workout, a late night treat, or just need a quick bite. Built is the perfect protein bar, and they taste better than a candy bar. Ditch the calories, fat, and sugar. Grab yourself a Built bar. Go to built.com right now and use that promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Again, that's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Make sure that you guys are staying in touch with everything Pac-12, not just the Sun Devils, the Pac-12. You can do that by making your second listen of the day Locked On Pac-12, hosted by my friend Spencer McLaughlin. Get all of your Pac-12 news in 30 minutes or less, just like Locked On Sun Devils. It's free and available on all platforms. Guys, he was the darling of Arizona State Sun Devils football in 2021. I mean, he was pretty good in 2020 too, in the 4 games we had. He was the darling for the Sun Devils draft prospects. And he was an absolute fan favorite in the NFL draft community heading into the process. Ends up being a 3rd-round pick by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Of course, I'm talking about Rachaad White. He is outstanding. Water is wet. Breaking news here on the Locked On Sun Devils, right? Rashad White was a 3rd-round pick for a reason. He could have even been higher in other drafts where the running back depth isn't as intriguing, I guess, because you had Kenneth Walker and you had, oh my God, who was in this class? Breece Hall, a couple other guys too. There was a Notre Dame kid, Isaiah Spiller, Keyshawn Vaughn. No, that's the guy on the Buccaneers I'm about to talk about. So anyways, with Rachaad White, so the backfield is going to be dominated by Leonard Fournette. Fournette coming off of arguably his best season in Tampa Bay. Dude was instrumental for getting them a Super Bowl win a couple years back. Has been a very good fit in that offense. Does everything that you want him to do. After him, it's kind of a competition for who wants to be that next guy. Geo Bernard has been in the league a long time. He's on the wrong side of 30 at this point. Not a lock for the roster, but he's a veteran and he knows what he's doing. Keyshawn Vaughn is a guy who has also been in the league a few years now. I think he's going into his 3rd season. Hasn't impressed, but there's still that investment, and he's young. He's not expensive. He's going to be competing for that spot as well. There's a few other guys too. I don't know their names off the top of my head. And then there's Rachaad White, the brand new shiny guy you just got from the toy store. He's 3rd-round pick. He catches the football. Is a great outside runner. Knows for the end zone. Does everything for you. In the preseason game, he ends up touching the ball 9 times, turns it into 45 yards. 45 yards. Includes an 8-yard catch that was a critical 3rd down conversion for the Buccaneers. And I mean, he's just, it's nothing that we aren't familiar with. He's a natural pass catcher. He just sits there out of the backfield, lets the ball come to him, turns upfield, and makes a play. It's exactly what we became accustomed to seeing from him when he was playing with the maroon and gold. It is something that we can take joy in knowing that it is going to be continued in the pros, that he is going to remain that reliable, dynamic pass catcher at a minimum as a rookie. Now, moving forward, he's a 3rd-round pick. Fournette is off the books after this year. Keyshawn Vaughn would have 1 more year on his deal. Rachaad White could be the future. So being able to showcase your talents is very important for him early on. So that way, if he does stand out this year, Tampa Bay doesn't have to sit there next offseason and go, Rachaad White wasn't good. We need to make sure that we pay Fournette and keep him in the folds. This is a great start to Rachaad White's career. Is high draft pick, showing off in training camp, and now in the first preseason game, showing off why he was a high draft pick. If he continues that, builds that momentum heading into the regular season, and then continues doing it throughout the year, Rachaad White could be the future sooner rather than later. But overall, looked very, very good in his first preseason outing. Nothing that we're unsurprised with. For what it's worth, he did touch the ball both as a runner, receiver, and as a return man, which is something we saw a little bit at Arizona State. He didn't get as many opportunities last year because he proved his value so much that you didn't want him on special teams. You just wanted him on offense. You didn't want to risk that injury. Tampa Bay has that luxury of being able to take a player like Rachaad White and use him in more ways than one. If he shows off that special teams prowess as well that we know he's capable of, I mean, that's just one more reason to get him on the field. Overall, Rashad White has dominated. Nothing that is news to us. Again, water is wet. But that's going to go ahead and wrap up this edition of the Locked On Sun Devils. So thank you guys so much for making us your first listen of the day. Remember, as always, we're free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, if you would like to check us out in a visual platform. But wherever you do get those podcasts, make sure you hit like and subscribe. Plus, turn on those notifications, get an update every time we post new content, Monday through Friday. If you're on Twitter, go ahead and follow me on Twitter. You can find me at Richie Brads36. You can find the podcast as well at LO_Sun Devils. And you can find all of my content for Sports Illustrated at All Sun Devils. Follow all three of them, and you'll be in touch with everything all the time for everything Arizona State. But that wraps up this edition of the podcast. So until next time, you guys keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun Devils.